Good evening, everyone. Welcome into Vol Society Live on this Wednesday night. Kind of going a little old school here, but either way, I'm glad you're all here. My name is David Morrison from the Vol Society, here to bring you to another episode of Vol Society Live. Normally, we do these shows on Tuesday night, but with basketball going on right now and Tennessee playing either on Tuesday or Wednesday, kind of had to shuffle the schedule just a little bit. But obviously, we want to come on tonight because we got a huge game coming up on Saturday as we head to Lexington to take on the Kentucky Wildcats. So, a big game coming up there. And uh, also, just want to welcome you into Vol Society Live. Like I said, the comments, if you want to leave a comment, the chat room is open. We leave your comments, your questions, whatever you want to on Facebook, YouTube, or X. This is your show. This is your chance to shine, and let's have a little talk. Obviously, by the title of the video, it says the Kentucky basketball preview, and we're going to dive into Kentucky. But obviously, we got to address the elephant in the room, and I got a lot to say about it. So here we go. So yesterday, a wonderful person, and I use it very sarcastically, Pat Ford from Yahoo Sports, reported yesterday that the University of Tennessee was being investigated through some NCAA sanctions. Hello to Phil watching along. Says good evening, David and Brad of All Society. Hello to you, Phil. All right, so there was reports coming out about this allegations from the NCAA and what was going on, and trying to figure out what it was. And turned out it had to do with NIL, particularly of Nico Iamaleava. And of course, Tennessee already has been in trouble with the NCAA recently, primarily due to the Jeremy Pruitt situation and the $8 million fines and the scholarship reduction. Of course, Donnie Plowman, who I'm about to get to in a minute, clean house, got rid of Jeremy Pruitt, got rid of that coaching staff. All the players that was involved is gone. And then Phil Fulmer. And now here we go, less than a year later, and the NCAA comes knocking at the door again. The NCAA was on campus talking to University of Tennessee officials about NIL and are they complying with it. And yeah, basically, Dante Plowman had enough of it and made a response to it. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to read the whole letter. It's 3 pages long, but I'm just going to say this about Dante Plowman before we dive into it. Dante Plowman uh, is a godsend to the University of Tennessee. I applaud what she did yesterday. I applaud her work at the University of Tennessee. Little quick side story here. Uh, we've done Vol Society Live for what, 3-4 years now. I joined Josh Heupel's first year, and we did a random Vol Society Live in late April of 2022, April 27th. I looked it up, and we were talking about, ironically, transfer portal and NIL and the future of college football. And when we were in the midst of it, and I think it was also during baseball season, and this is when we had very few people watching, and we had the old cast iron skillet microphone to my right, and Donnie Plowman, the chancellor at the University of Tennessee, watched our video, gave us a like on the Facebook page, and it really tickled us. Brad was in the chat room, and it was just a great moment, and just made me respect her a lot more. Of her great stories about her from various Tennessee alumni. Brad is a Tennessee alumni, and we'll go to bat for her every time. Just great stuff. Carlos, who's on the podcast and been on Ball Society, same thing. Just a brilliant, powerful woman, a brilliant, powerful chancellor at the University of Tennessee, and just can't say much about her. But anyways, I'm going to go ahead and kind of dive into what she's saying. I'm not going to read the whole letter as I mentioned, but basically, in a nutshell, this is what she kind of wrote. And I quote from this letter from her. This is the second paragraph of page 1. It says, earlier today, a team from the University of Tennessee met with members of your enforcement staff to discuss allegations the NCAA intends to bring against Tennessee to NIL. We appreciate your untrue and precariously flawed Moreover, it is essentially dishonest for the NCAA enforcement staff to pursue infraction cases as the students athletes have no NIL rights, as its institutions have been fluctuated post Austin, which is a lawsuit the NCAA is going through right now, with a clear and unchanging set of rules and willingly violating them. So Donnie Plowman just came out swinging in this letter, and there's plenty of more. But basically, she's calling out what a lot of people has been thinking about the NCAA is just the biggest fraud institution ever. I mean, the NCAA right now is in court with 5 cases at this time, not counting ours. They cannot win a court battle. They've been trying to stop the future of what college football and college athletics have been for years, and they just failed to do so because of their own power and their own just immaturity for the most part. And they're just a shell of themselves. I mean, they really should have disbanded in 2021 when they went to the Supreme Court, and all 9 Supreme Court judges, both Democrats and Republicans, and that's the only time I'm ever going to mention that on this show, all voted against the NCAA. They were 0-9. And Brad is saying Donde for president. Absolutely. Uh, this institution should have really been dead 2 years ago, but they're still wreaking havoc, being bullies. There was a kid out in North Carolina, Chapel Hill, transferred from Kent State just one time. There was some controversy with that. Didn't get to play in the first game, and then by the next week, got to play, and and the NCAA is like, oh yeah, they should have played the whole time. Maybe you should have filled out your paperwork better. That's just a bunch of horse baloney right there. Yeah. Brad says Donnie's about to put them out. She is amazing. Yeah, I'm just like I said, just kind of reading the letter. It's just remarkable. What she says, and just kind of the final thing here says, oh, well, let me read this. The NCAA and its members institutions owes it to the public and all its stakeholders to be intellectually honest. Exactly. Exactly. And to be honest with you, and I love Dondi, and she's calling them out, they're not going to be honest. Brad said her letter is perfect. Indeed, it is. Um, and I hope and for those who don't know, today University of Tennessee, well, the Tennessee Attorney General and the Virginia Attorney General is suing. I'm getting my real thick Southern accent in because that's how mad I'm getting. Suing the NCAA for their baloney. I mean, it's amazing that and Nico did nothing wrong. Nico did nothing wrong in this whole. Did they send a project or whatever? uh, University of Tennessee, Inspire Sports, the group that is affiliated with Nico, they did everything correct. They did everything to what they're supposed to do according to their rules, and then all of a sudden it changes. It's just it's just amazing. It's mind-boggling. And Brad says we love you, Donnie Plowman. Yeah, we love you too, and I hope they get rid of this group once and for all. Uh, it's just mind-boggling that Nico trying to trying to be a student athlete and to play by what the rules is instituted. But meanwhile, the NCAA is okay of releasing this back in the day that has actual players and named likenesses in it. But Nico can't do it. Which, by the way, this is what started the downfall of the NCAA is Ed O'Bannon getting rid of these games, which in a way I'm sad by it, but we're getting them back. But this tells the hypocrisy of it. So, anyways, what do y'all think about it? Like I said, leave your comments and your questions. I've kind of ranted. Actually, it was a lot calmer than what I wanted to say. Uh, I hope this group goes away, and I hope for the sake of college sports, and I know it's changing. I know it is going in a different direction, through good and some bad, but we got to have a set standard of rules. We got to have a set standards of what is right, what is wrong. Do we need to contract these people or contract our student athletes? You know, we got to get answers, and the NCAA is not the answer. Phil says, well, we definitely need to be working on our foul shots and layups. What is wrong with Josiah Jordan James? We just couldn't hit the gimme. Yeah. Let's make that transition. Thank you, Phil. I could go on all night. Uh, and Phil says, definitely hogwash. Shout out to my grandparents watching along tonight. Hello to them. Basketball was awful last night. Rough one. Yeah. So let's continue the mad train here. We go from one subject to another. Yeah, Tennessee ended up taking the loss last night to South Carolina. Oh man, it was just a awful showing last night. And I knew we were in trouble when we couldn't hit layups the first 3 minutes in the game. 63-59 the final score. South Carolina gets a win, and I will give South Carolina kudos. Back-to-back wins over top 10 teams. They went to actually they won at home against Kentucky last Saturday, and then or was it last Tuesday? I can't. Yeah, it was last Tuesday because we were on Ball Society Live, and y'all was telling me about the score. Yeah, so they beat Kentucky, and then they turned around and went on the road and beat us last night. But yeah, the scoring was just pretty abysmal. I mean, Dalton Connect, he tried his best. He ended up with 31 points last night. Tried to win the game for us, but yeah, James was not hot last night. 1 for 3, 0 for 2 from 3-point land was 2 points. Vescovy ended up with 10. Adu was 2 for 8, 6 points. What does Ziegler end up having? Ziegler was 0 for 6 with 2 free throws. I mean, just not a great showing, and a little concern going into Rupp Arena on Saturday. Bryce said, Phil says Dalton is the man. Dalton is just fantastic to watch. Probably having the single greatest season in Tennessee basketball history. It's just fantastic to see, and definitely a special player. You know, even if it's his only year at the University of Tennessee, I'm happy that he's here, and yeah, and this is gonna be. I can't wait to see what he can do the rest of the year. Shout out to Jeff leaving us a love on the Facebook page. You can do the same thing if you're watching us on Facebook. Give us a reaction. But yeah, just a terrible showing last night. 5 for 21 from 3-point land, shot 36%. This can't be. We can't do that, especially if we want to make a deep run in March Madness. And that's kind of my concern right now is we know Dalton can play. We know Adu most of the nights won't have an off night at least this year. But James, Santee, even though Santee was okay, Ziegler, these veteran players that's been here 4, 5, 6 years, they're going to have to step up. I mean, you're relying on a one-year wonder, and I say that respectively, in Dalton Connect. We've seen it before with Keon Johnson and Kennedy Chandler and Jared. It's just I just don't get why some of our older players, our older veterans, doesn't help this team out per se. And they just kind of just like, well, we'll just move on to the next one. And Dalton Connect was trying to win it, even down 5 with pretty much the game was over, still trying to keep it in there. So I love Dalton. I think he deserves all the flowers. Definitely, in my opinion, him and Zach Edey, still two of the best players in college basketball. I'll probably even put Connect over Edey at this time. And I'm not saying as a Tennessee fan. I'm just saying just the way he impacts the game. He now leads the SEC in scoring at 20.1 points per game, just past Wade Taylor and Mark Sears on the single season scoring leader right now. So congratulations, Dalton, for that. Let's see if he can continue it up and end up winning SEC Player of the Year. Anyways, we got a huge one coming up on Saturday, 8:30 tip off Eastern Time on ESPN, right after Duke, Carolina, Tennessee, and Kentucky. Huge weekend in college basketball. You got, I think, 4 games that's in the top 10: Tennessee, Kentucky, Duke, Carolina, Purdue, Wisconsin. Houston, Kansas. Um, so definitely a big weekend of college basketball, and we're going to preview those Friday on Fast Break Friday at noon. Phil says Triple J hasn't done nothing the last two games. Yeah, he's just disappeared, and that's the frustrating part. Is as I mentioned, just being a 6-year senior and just kind of comes and goes, and you can't have that from your grad senior right there. But anyways, getting to Tennessee, Kentucky here. Uh, like I said, you have two of the top scorers in the SEC, Dalton Connect, Anthony for Tennessee, Anthony Reese for Kentucky. Kentucky has 5 players right now averaging over 10 points per game. Reeves averaging 19 a game. Reed Dillingham 13. Mitchell 13. DJ Wagner 12. Reed Shepard 11. Reed Shepard's also like third in the SEC in steals. Uh, this Kentucky team reminds me a lot of kind of those, I guess you could say, semi old school John Calipari teams, where he relies a lot on the freshman All American McDonald players, and has about 2 or 3 veteran players. Well, he's got kind of doing the same thing too. A lot of young guys, and also some veterans too. So this is a very talented Kentucky team. It's going to be a very tough environment to play in. Tennessee doesn't have the best track record at Rupp Arena, but Rick Barnes has won there before in the past, and it would be very rewarding to see Tennessee go into Rupp and pick up a win after what we saw last night. But just as a very tough Kentucky team, team averages 88 points per game. I mean, I like our defense holding them down under 88. But the is one of those, like, can Tennessee match with them as far as points goes, and that's going to be a key factor. Um, but a very good team for Coach Cal. Uh, Meanwhile, for Tennessee, as far as stats wise goes, I'll kind of read the stats here for y'all. Dalton Connect averaging 20 points per game. Adu leads the team in rebounds at 7 a game. Zakai Ziegler still atop of the SEC assist leaders, averaging 5 a game. He also has one in over almost 2 steals a game. Adu almost 2 blocks a game. Right now, Connect and Adu are the only 2 Tennessee players averaging double-digit points on the year. And then rebounds, it's been Adu and James leading the way. So it's always a fun matchup, always a big-time battle when Tennessee and Kentucky plays. It's gonna be a physical game, and it feels like, and maybe I'm just trying to rally a win, but it seems like anytime Tennessee's the underdog against Kentucky, they do fairly well. Phil says, "Well, if you think Tennessee would overlook South Carolina to Kentucky, I know, yeah. And I'm a little surprised they did overlook them, and maybe it's just South Carolina is very underrated. They're 17-3 on the year. They're unranked. They already got a win over Kentucky. They got a win over us, and they'll probably be ranked. But I'm looking at like different bracketology poll or seedings, and right now South Carolina is listed as an 8th seed in the NCAA tournament. So yeah, I think I'm just kind of surprised that they overlooked them, and I just probably just from past years of how they struggled, and Lamont Paris has really turned this program around in his second season, and you know definitely this is their best team since that Magic Final Four run that they had several years ago when Frank Martin won really his only year that he was successful there, and now Lamont Paris kind of recapturing the magic there, except they're having a better regular season. But should be interesting, and like I said, it really kind of hurts Tennessee now as far as like trying to capture a regular season SEC crown. I mean, 2 losses in the SEC is not awful, but if you get an Alabama who's right now, Alabama's actually trailing Georgia as we speak, but so that does help out a little bit. But if an Auburn or a Bama or whoever gets on a big magic run and runs the table the rest of the SEC, and Tennessee loses one more, which possibly will happen. Not going to get a you're not going to win the regular season championship. Yeah, you'll still get in the NCAA tournament, and you'll still have a possible double bye in the SEC tournament. But what could have been really a big magical season is not out of works, but it's still it's just kind of a what is could be a what if. Herb watching us tonight on Vols Society on the Facebook page says the Vols has to go into Rupp with an attitude. They should be pissed off after that goose egg they laid last night. We need more people looking to score instead of standing around watching Dalton do all the work on offense. We need to play with more passion. Absolutely, Herb. We were just talking about that with James and Santee, Ziegler. Adu. I just think Adu had an off night. Really, everybody had an off night, but I trust Adu can bounce back, and Dalton's going to be Dalton. But we need Santee to really kind of step up. You know, I know he's not the go-to guy, but he's been around for a long time. He's one of your better three-point shooters. I think he needs to step up, and especially James. And maybe James can be. Maybe James is kind of settled in as being the main rebounder guy and not scoring a lot. But you kind of want some more scoring there, and and guys coming off the bench, Gainey, Awaka, filling in for Adu. Estrella has really stepped up nicely. I think he can kind of be that guy too, especially down in the future. Uh, because I don't know if Adu. I mean, I'm sure Adu may come back, but you never know with what these NBA scouts say. But kind of planning out the future and building some depth. That's where I think Tennessee really needs to work on is just kind of have that second, third, fourth, fifth guy. And, especially when you get into March Madness, guard play is so important. And Dalton is a guard. But, with Sandy and Gainey and Ziegler, that's so important. And limited turnovers. And, Dalton's going to put up his numbers. He's going to get his shots. But you need to kind of have that somebody else to fill in, and hopefully they can go into Rupp like you said and have an attitude and go in there and win at Kentucky. It has happened before. We've been underdogs going into Rupp Arena and we've stuck away with a win on a couple of occasions. So it can happen, but it's one of those. Do they have the right attitude to get that? Any other questions or comments? Like I said, continue to leave those on our social media pages. This is your show. I know I've done, and this is mainly your show. Should be, like I said, it's a big weekend. Best weekend coming up this weekend for college basketball. 4 top 10 matches this weekend, and including Tennessee and Kentucky. I guess you can kind of say it's a little bit of a rivalry weekend too. But a lot of good stuff there. A lot of good stuff at the University of Tennessee, including the love for Dondee Plowman and what she's done. Give a quick shout out to Z-Dog leaving us a like on the Facebook page. Any other questions or comments while we're on here tonight? Okay. I just sorry about that. I was reading something here. Apologize for the dead air. Just having some texts about. Apparently, Tony Bastillo had like a good show today about the NCAA sanctions. So I have to check that out when we get off here tonight. As far as Tennessee upcoming games here, we mentioned Kentucky coming up on Saturday, and then next Wednesday night we'll be back home to take on LSU. February 10th starts a back-to-back road series with Texas A&M, and then we go to Arkansas on Valentine's Day, and then come back home and play Vanderbilt for the second time, then Missouri, and then A&M again, and then Auburn to wrap up the month of February. Tennessee does get revenge against South Carolina on Wednesday, March the 6th. It's now a 7 o'clock tip off on ESPN2. It's on a Wednesday night, and then that's right before we play Kentucky at home on the night. So, like I said, it's no, we're not out of the regular season championship just yet, but we're gonna have to really get on a big run and pray some teams can lose right now. As of right now, Tennessee is tied for third with Auburn and Kentucky in the SEC standings. Z-Dog says, what happened with the South Carolina game? South Carolina is very good and should be ranked, but did we not show up for that whole game? I think Z-Dog, we overlooked them and was looking ahead to Kentucky. I really, truly believe that. It was just, especially coming out of the gate, just flat, missing layups. Adu missed a couple of them. Then later on, Estrella missed a big dunk. Ziegler missed the layup. Just bad shot selection. And made it close with Connect really playing, but it just seemed like the team just kind of said, okay, Dalton, try to win this game for us by yourself. And he tried, but, we just looked ahead. And I kind of even thought, and I don't think I don't think this was a factor, but you kind of wonder if a little bit in the back of their minds with everything going on with the sanctions may have may have played a little bit in their mind. I mean, I don't think it did, but something to think about. Z-Dog says Ziegler hasn't been the same this season. Yeah, and coming off that injury, he tore the ACL last March. It's just it really feels like his explosive play is really taking a toll, and unfortunately, it's kind of what you see with players coming back from a big significant injury, just not the same as they once were. On the football side with Cedric Tillman, he had an Achilles injury, but coming back from a big injury and surgery and trying to get back 100%, he just never really got that. And I think Ziegler's kind of the same way, and it's a little concerning if about Brew if it continues this trend. Anyways, Kevin watching this. Kevin, a big fan of All Society. He says, we will be all right. Just got to have more people to score. As long as we get our act together in March is all that matters. That is true. I mean, you got to get hot in March, and guard play and turnovers is going to be a big key factor. And we got a great guard, an All-American guard in Dalton Connect. It's just, can we get the others to step up, even our bench, and, just limit that. Herb watching, or Herb has been watching. Leaves a comment that says Chandler Plowman is a legend at Tennessee now. She is ready for a fight. I'm glad she's on our side. My daughter is a student at UT, and she says the students love her. I can see why after her stance on defending our school, she won't back down from the fight. Absolutely. I echo the same way. Chandler Plowman, a very, very busy woman at the University of Tennessee, but always takes time out to talk to the students, talks to the student athletes. She takes pictures. She even posts pictures of on her own personal Facebook page, which is public. Uh, of just, hey, met, going around campus today, saw these kids from the agriculture department, and just want to appreciate their generosity and all that stuff. And it's just, yeah, I've just heard great things about her. The only interaction I had with Chandler Plowman is she came off also. She watched one of our Vol Society videos and liked the Facebook page, and we were struck by that because we didn't have the viewership back then, and just really just what I heard is a sweet, sweet woman, and loves the University of Tennessee, and a power mover, and quote Carlos Lopez, a boss lady. And I cannot wait to see uh, the end result to this, because I feel very confident that we have the right people in play to take down the NCAA. Any others? A lot of just been a wild 24 hours at the University of Tennessee, um, with everything kind of going on, and both the men's and women's team didn't look too hot so far this week. The Lady Vols ended up dropping to Ole Miss on the road Sunday, and they got a big road game coming up Thursday night against Georgia. and then they're back home against Mizzou. Um, and then we mentioned the guys going to Rupp Arena on Saturday night. Trying to think of anything else kind of going on. Um, it's just just kind of reflecting just the whole, like I said, 24 hours, and just it's just you got that dark cloud over your head from the Pruitt scandal and all that stuff, and now you're jumping into something that should have not have happened. And we're kind of looking at, if this lawsuit does go into our favor, probably the straw that breaks the camel's back and the NCAA going away. And you have to think into consideration, the NCAA they host the NCAA men's basketball and women's basketball tournament, the baseball tournament, soccer tournaments. They got a hand in a lot of this stuff, and once that goes away, and I'm kind of looking at it from postseason perspective, where do those postseason tournaments go if you don't have an NCAA? Do you get it? You just kind of, conferences kind of come together and come up with that, or do you go into somebody else taking over? There's a lot of unanswered questions right now if it does come down. And but I think eventually in the future we'll look back and be like, we're glad that we're in this position right now, because it could have been a lot worse. Z-Doc says, positive note, 2025 football recruitment is looking good. Yeah, it definitely is, with George McIntyre leading the way. Excited to see what he can do. Phil says, have a great night, David and Brad at Ball Society. And he says, Alabama 85, Georgia 76. Alabama has come back against Georgia. I don't know if that's a final just yet, but they were down big at the half. So what I was doing my research. So thank you, Phil, and have a good night to you. Yeah, I'm excited to see the future of Tennessee football with Nico. And I think Nico will be playing. I think we'll be fine in the future. Excited to see what our team can do in 2024. It's a new era of college football with the additions of Oklahoma and Texas in the SEC. No more East versus West anymore. No more annual games with South Carolina and Missouri. You still do get Florida, Bama, Kentucky, Vandy, and then next year we also add in Arkansas, Mississippi State to the SEC schedule, and like one other I can't remember. Oklahoma. You go to Oklahoma next year. So a lot of excitement's going to be. I'm excited to see how this roster's shaping out, especially with the additions of Lance Hurd to the offensive line at left tackle. You move John Campbell over to right tackle. Cooper Mace coming back. Spraggins coming back. I mean, just that offensive line coming back mainly for Nico, and I'm sure to improve their NFL status. And then your skill position players, Dylan Sampson, play like was a dog in that Citrus Bowl. I can't wait to see what he can do. Cam Seldon looked great in the Citrus Bowl. Hopefully he can get some improvement. Your wide receiving core is going to look great with the transfers coming in. Uh, Brew will probably not start the season off. I'm sure Brew will probably be back, my guess, by the Florida game. And keep in mind, the Florida game next year is the week before we play Alabama. So it'll be the second Saturday in October. And then the next week will be Bama. So I expect Brew to probably be back somewhere in that time frame, because that will be a year when the injury happened. Now, anything can happen with medicine and training and stuff, but that's just kind of my guess when he could be back. But you'll have that. You have the tight end room looking really good with Holden States, transfer from Notre Dame, the tight end transfer from Alabama. You'll have Ethan Davis. So just the offense looks legit and ready to go. And I think Joey Hassel is going to really help out as far as offensive coordinator. And Z-Dog says we have a tough schedule. Yeah, and when indeed we do. We mentioned, Bama, Georgia, Florida. Uh, then you got Oklahoma on the schedule going to their place. You got an interesting week 2 matchup with NC State and Charlotte. Uh, NC State was a sneaky good team last year in the ACC, and I hadn't looked and see who they have on their schedule. So, still trying to figure out who's coming back for them. But anyways, I think NC State can be a sneaky game next year. Uh, we'll see what happens there. Um, Kentucky does come to our place, but I feel confident about that game. Um, and Vandy, we should be fine when we go over to Nashville. Like I said, don't get Missouri next year, which is probably a blessing in disguise. We don't get them, although I like to get the revenge factor. Mississippi. I think Mississippi State could be interesting. I think Jeff Lebby, who was Lane Kiffin's offensive coordinator a couple of years ago, I think he was at Oklahoma last year as OC. This is he's going to bring in a high tempo offense, kind of similar to what the Pirate was running before he passed away. I think at Mississippi, if he gets a good couple players on that offense, I think they can be a little bit dangerous. You go to Arkansas uh, next year. Next year, I believe. So Bobby Petrino and that team, I think we'll be okay with that. Carlos, no matter what, vamos Vols, Carlos. Thank you, buddy. Carlos, just a great guy himself. Kind of like Donnie Plowman. Two great people representing the University of Tennessee in positive ways. Phil saying Kentucky 32, Florida 28. A game going on right now. I can't remember if that's at Florida, if it's at Kentucky. But yeah, kind of shaping out the SEC, getting ready for a big game coming up on Saturday. That'd be huge if Florida can pull that win off. But then now you're going to have a mad Kentucky team and a mad Tennessee team, and somebody's going to be even more madder, if you will, after Saturday night. Shout out to Kevin and shout out to Tracy leaving us a like on the Facebook page. Carlos says, just wanted to stop by and show some support, mi amigo. Gracias, Carlos. Thank you. Okay, yeah, Kentucky. It's at Kentucky. Okay, thank you, Phil. So it's at Rough Arena. So Kentucky's got back-to-back home games this week. But anyways, so should be a big game coming up on Saturday night with Tennessee, Kentucky. We're now getting into February. It's been a long January, obviously. And it feels like it's been about 2 months with January with the weather and with just everything kind of getting shuffled around and just a lot of stuff in the news. And I'm not going to go with every news detail, but you know what I'm talking about. And even with us here at the university, or with the University of Tennessee. Speaking of skips, I'm going to give a shout out to one of our supporters on Ball Society, Mr. Jared Wright. So Jared, one of our followers on our Ball Society page, and also a classmate of me and Brad and Dee's. He is a basketball announcer in my hometown here in Athens. He does the voice of McMinn County Cherokees basketball and Tennessee Wesleyan University Bulldogs. And because of all the snow and the ice and the schedules getting reshuffled, Jared, today is Wednesday. He has already called 6 basketball games in 3 days, and he's still got to call like 4 more this week. So shout out Jared Wright. Doing great stuff. The voice of the Bulldogs and the basketball voice of the Cherokees, killing it right now. And he's probably not watching right now because he's calling the men's Wesley game against Kentucky Christian right now. But I want to give a shout out to Jared. I mean, dude's a husband and a father, and loves calling basketball games, college basketball, high school basketball. Give a shout out to our buddy Jared. holding it down, and I hope your voice can hold up uh, by the end of the week. I know, like I said, he's still got like 4 more to go. So shout out to him for doing the volunteer work, if you will. Anything else? I guess we'll go ahead and wrap it up here tonight on Vol Society. Thank you for joining us here on this Wednesday night. Stay tuned on the Facebook page. We'll tell you when the next time we do go live. Like I said, in the midst of basketball, shuffles our schedule around just a little bit. Hopefully, you're enjoying the baseball previews. We're going to preview the outfield tomorrow on the Facebook page, showing the roster. And Like we did the infield, the utility players, and the catchers today. We did pitchers on Tuesday. Hopefully, you're enjoying that little baseball preview, getting ready as we're, I think, 18 days away from baseball season. Lady ball softball coming up fairly soon. Preseason ranked number 2. So Karen Weekly and the Lady Vol softball team, getting some high praise for the year split, and even the boys or the men's baseball team, number 8 preseason ranked, 3 All-American players. Billy Amlick, a transfer from Clemson, was All-American there last year. Now on the Tennessee baseball team. Christian Moore, second baseman, and Drew Beam, our starting pitcher, will be our Friday night pitcher. We'll dive more into baseball. May do a very quick video with the baseball team. Still getting all my news notes and stuff there, and maybe do like a quick non-live video, but it'll be across our social media pages. So keep an eye on that. Fast Break Friday coming up on Friday afternoon at noon. Previewing Tennessee basketball game with Kentucky. It's like a 10-15 minute video of Tennessee men's basketball, Lady Vols, the SEC, and select games across the nation, just kind of highlighting that. So we got that coming up. Just thank you to our Vol Society followers and supporters. We're just so blessed to be a part of bringing positivity to Vols athletics, and that's kind of why we didn't post the allegations on our Facebook page and even last night's score. We try to keep Vol Society very positive, very centric on the good about the University of Tennessee and its athletic programs. We don't try to start arguments or accuse people. We focus on you, the fans. We try to bring a good light and positivity. We're all about positivity and light here at Vol Society. Brad is, Deez is, myself, others. And hopefully you enjoy that. And thank you for continuing to support us. And we'll go ahead and wrap it up tonight. Thank you for being a part of Vol Society. Be kind, be safe, spread love to everyone, and we'll catch you next time right here on Vol Society Live. This is David Morrison saying good night and go Vols.